if you had the chance to change one thing in Africa, what will you change?
I will change bad governance. Because, you see, Africa is a place where when you get into position, you forget about the people who voted for you.
It's nice to meet you. Thank you so much for welcoming me. And I believe that you don't know who I am. I got one of your books because I love Africa with all my heart, but reading is a bit difficult for me, yeah? But I'm trying my best. You did a definition of the mother of Africa, the mother of the Virgin Lady. And I really want you to tell my people about how you did that definition before I even start talking about anything.
Yeah, thank you very much, my son, Wode. It's a pleasure having you in my house.
Thank you.
My son has told me a lot about you and what you are doing for the African continent. This book was published in the year 2010.
Oh.
And what you are referring to, we call it the allegory of the murdered virgin, where we used the African continent to represent a virgin who was killed by fortune seekers, and her body was cut into several parts. And the body was preserved using different methods. The people who killed her decided that they would preserve the body so that in the event of the crime being detected, they will hand over the body to the parents of the lady. So after a long time, the crime was detected, the body parts were retrieved and stitched together. So that lady is the African continent that we have. So the cutting of the lady into parts is the division of the African continent among the colonial powers during the colonial struggle in Berlin, 1884. You know, in Berlin, the conference was called by Otto von Bismarck. He was then the Chancellor of Germany, and there were 7 European countries: Germany, Portugal, Belgium, Spain, France, Britain. US was there as an observer. But no African country was invited. What was the reason? They wanted to calm the tension that had resulted as a result of the scramble for Africa. They divided Africa among themselves. Then they came and claimed their colonies. At the conference, 2 principles came out. The principle of effective occupation of the colonies, and then the principle of the recognition of King Leopold of Belgium as the owner of the Congo Basin. Can you imagine that? Africa was being shared among Europeans, and no African was there. So the sharing is the murder of the virgin. And then the struggle for independence was the retrieval of the body parts. The stitching of the bodies, those are the colonial boundaries as we have it now. You see, and then the methods of preservation of the body are the different colonial policies. Britain used what you call the crown colony system and the indirect rule. France used the assimilation policy, where the people were divided into citizens and then subjects. So the methods of preservation were different. That is why it's very difficult for Africans to act together as one people. The colonial, even after independence, the colonial powers continue to control us because despite independence, there's what you call neo-colonialism.
Are you a big fan of Nkrumah?
Yes, I am. I support and stand by the ideas of Nkrumah. After independence, Nkrumah wanted Africans to be united so that they can control their resources and use it for the development of Africa. But what happened? The people thought he wanted to become the first president of the United States of Africa. They were against him. All the things he recommended. He said he wanted a common parliament for Africa. He wanted Supreme Court of Africa. He wanted common currency. He wanted a single president and all those things. 58 years ago, that's what the European Union, they have implemented those things. And we, Africa, we are still struggling with the ideas that Kwame Nkrumah brought. Why? Because we are divided.
It's crazy how I'm in Kinshasa, but I can see Brazzaville right there, and they both have the name Congo, yeah? But there's no bridge that is connecting the two countries. Apparently, if you're a Congolese and you want to go, a Congolese from Kinshasa, you want to go to Brazzaville, you need visa to go there. I mean, sometimes I feel like we should stop blaming colonialism, yeah? Sometimes it's our fault, you know? I just don't get it, man. That's crazy, man. Like, they speak the same language, right? But because they were colonized by the French and this one was colonized by the Belgians, they decided not to, they decided not to come together. They decided to be in their separate ways. But sometimes when I think about these things, I'll be like, colonization is over, right? Do you think that Africa will ever unite?
Yes, Africa can unite.
How can we unite?
If these barriers I'm talking about now are removed.
And as I was telling another gathering, you know, these borders, and I also mentioned to my brother, these borders that you create silos for yourselves amongst, you must always remember, are not your creation. These were creations of people outside of this continent who made these borders not to develop you, but to extract from you. Now that you want to develop yourself, we must start looking at these borders and we must start removing the barriers that we have put, that have defined us in the past, and now hinder us from being the giant that we should be.
Do you think mental slavery still exists in Africa?
Yes, it does. It
Can you
does.
give us an example?
I'll give you just one example. For example, here in Africa, we have presidents, we have parliament, we have ministers of state. But who controls them?
Does it mean that Africa is not economically independent?
If you say you are independent, it means you eat your own food. Nobody claims he's independent and he's fed by another person. Is that independence? We were politically independent when we had our flags, our national anthems, and all those things. But economically, we were still dependent on, when we talk about budget deficit, we prepare our budgets, we don't have, we go outside for money. When our president wants to have conferences outside Africa, the TNT and per diem, it is another country that pays. Can you say you are independent?
What are you doing right now to help solve the problem of Africa? Because we've been talking about the problems of Africa for so long. The youth are yearning for solution. What is the way forward? I mean, what role are you playing in terms of solving the problem that we have as a continent?
Thank you very much for that question. It's a very complex question. It is not something that one person can do anything about. We have to go back to what Nkrumah started saying, that until Africa is united, we are not going to take control of our resources and to be able to manage them to solve our problems. And he did this by setting up what we call Institutes of African Studies, where the youth in Africa will know about their history, about their economy, about things that happened before they were born. They will have confidence in themselves so that they can be proud that they are Africans and work here in Africa. But what have we seen? Leadership of the continent has disappointed all of us. All over the world.